Maybe, Schultze, we start calling them the Infuego Blazers.
Ooh.
We had a nice little big game yesterday. Swag and I were talking about this game. People were texting in about it. Like, it was one that we all know this team wasn't going to be very good record-wise. But we still circle it because it's Dame. Dame's coming back. Okay, see it on the calendar, find out when it's happening, and then you get to the moment. And it's like all of this hoopla. It's Dame's back. Here he is at Adidas. Dame's back. He's at this. Dame's sleeping at his house now. Casey Aldall has a photography show going on of Dame's life. It was the Dame show for 48 hours, Schultze. And dare I say, it was great. It was great to live in a moment of having something matter in this city sports-wise. It was great living in a, not from a wins-loss perspective, but this is a big game. I talked about yesterday Dame coming back and how, some of the audio we played is a little misleading and how they got themselves to the post-Dame era. But I wanted them to win that game, and I thought they would go out and do whatever they could to kind of spoil the homecoming for the Sweet Prince. It was nice, Schultze, to live in a moment of having a big game and it living up to the hype.
It felt like I was a kid watching a Blazers game again. And I say that because Damian Lillard's 11 years here in Portland really gave me the feeling of, obviously only one Western Conference final appearance, but there was definitely some elite moments that we got to watch almost on a nightly basis, I feel like. Like, we knew we were watching greatness, and there were points as a kid, with the Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge combinations, like the could have been things. Like, it just really, seeing the traffic, I was driving in for the hot corner last night and seeing the traffic going to the Blazers game, which I believe is the first time that happened all year. That's kind of what brought me to that kid feeling of watching Blazers basketball again. Like, everything matters. This is awesome. This is what sports is all about. Am I mad that Dame's gone? Yes. Am I pissed at how the organization handled it? Absolutely. That's like 3 other segments.
Yeah.
But if we're just talking about the moment of Dame returning to Portland, that is what sports are about. I was talking to Kendall last night, my wife, saying, "Oh, babe, you know what? If I weren't working the show tonight, we would have paid whatever we had to pay, even if it were the nosebleeds, just to go and sit and be there," because those are the moments that you have to watch, you have to see, because you look back 10 years later, those are the I remember when moments, and I remember where I was.
I didn't know this at the time, but the Dame game fell on a practice day. I coach my daughter's 6th grade basketball team, and I have an assistant. I have a parent that helps me, and I certainly could have said, "Yo, can you, run practice? I'm going to be off." I feel obligated to be there, so I didn't get to go to the game. I was a little behind, too, on the live. I had to catch up. I caught up about halftime, so I was with everybody in the second half.
Oh, you stayed up later than normal then.
Usually with Blazer games, I'll stay up for the whole thing before I go to bed. It's a little later for me than I want, but I'll be
good for you.
Either in bed with the iPad watching the final 5 minutes, or I'll just be downstairs and then just, okay, I'm calling it a night, bye-bye. Because those games usually get over around 9:30 anyway. But catching up, I became incredibly jealous. The intro was awesome. We'll get to all the audio of that. Dame talked before the game. He keeps talking about something, and I, as a Blazer fan, I'm not bothered by it. But if I was a Bucks fan, it would kind of drive me crazy. I don't want to really hear it right now, especially in a moment where they're good record-wise, but they're kind of a clunky, weird team, and they fired a coach to hire a coach who I'm not sure knows what he's doing. But I was really jealous of everybody that got to go to those games. They got to go to that game last night. It looked like it was a lot of fun. There was a weird thing I caught up on social media where people were trying to indicate that CJ's return was more emotional or something. And then Gundy saw that, and he was on the show, and he was like, "Hey, I don't know why people are saying this. I'm in the building. It's a massive deal. It's palpable, the energy in here." And so
Dame almost cried with one of the tribute videos.
He claimed it was sweat. He was caught wiping near his eyes, and everyone's like, "Dame's crying," and then he's like, "No, I was wiping sweat off."
He had a big smile on his face. We don't know.
But he got his flowers. He got the return. He got the great intro, the standing ovation, the video tribute. It just seemed like a really great ticket. They price gouged you compared to the other games, but it really wasn't that atrocious of price. I think I saw some in 300 for like $50, $40.
That's a ticket. That's a ticket. That's a must-have. I feel like $150 just for the game. So then you got another 20, 30 for parking, another 20 for gas, another 100 for food. You can get in and out for under $500. I get it. We're all kind of strapped sometimes financially, but I think that is, if you could, even if you like are living like a little bit on the edge of money wise, people were at that game because they needed to be sports wise. This is just like, nope, this is a must have for me. This is a memory that I need to be at.
Well, we all, we talk about the Blazers from time to time. They're bad right now, so we haven't talked about them as much as we probably normally would. But the thing about them, and everybody knows in this city, it's just like it's a little more passionate. It's a little bigger tie, and like we end up arguing with each other on social media about, hey, is this guy as good as this guy on a different team? Is our coach better than that coach? And some people say, hell yeah, almost to all of it. And other people question it, and other people deny it because, again, they live in misery. And, that's what's unique, I think, about the sports, the city as a sports city, is the passion, all of it tied to kind of one. And I know the Timbers have certainly and built up their audience as well. But when you just talk Blazers, there's definitely something that's a little different from, I think, most NBA cities. That makes last night, in the midst of being, 14-33 going into the game?
You didn't think about that. You
didn't care about that. It was, I'm going to go watch my team, pay tribute to a guy that, busted his ass and represented the franchise in the city in a pretty positive manner. Let's go have a time. And that's the cool part about Portland is last night, who cares if they won or lost, I guess, but we did kind of want them to beat Dame in his return, but also give Dame the flowers and say, thank you for everything you did.
Kind of making me emotional talking about it, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, you're just bringing me back to yesteryear, to a point where, sports, I guess, seems simpler. As you get older,
sports should be simple. We don't let it be simple. We live in we always want to find a way to be miserable.
Absolutely. But on top of that, there's the business side of things that gets in the way. Obviously that's the reason why Dame is gone.
Sure.
I think some people would argue, but it brings me back to a point of just, wins and losses. And last night's game really, once again, transcends all the business stuff, all the crappy behavior that was going on. I mean, I'm going to get into Jody and Joe giving their standing ovation, and then the answer that Dame gave during the press conference, which we have the audio of him saying he didn't talk to Joe since...
He hasn't talked to him since the trade.
No, there's a lot to be said here on the other side of this. However, when you're just talking about the moment, yeah, I'm getting very emotional just remembering how awesome it was to see Dame's career arc start. I mean, the number 6 pick, people were like, undersized guard, what the hell's that? And he's turned into one of the greatest top 100 players of all time. He's brought people in to watch sports, and I have a special connection to it because my wife, she's with me. She's going to watch sports, but watching Damian Lillard made her love sports. So I get extra emotional about that because he brings people in and he brings people together beyond sports. Obviously, his community help and activities and Damian Lillard Toyota and all that extra stuff. It's obvious what a presence he is here.
I hate admitting this out loud, but it's just how I felt. A lot of people were sending out how they felt about Dame and the night and the emotions and whatnot. And you can call me a little cold-hearted here. I didn't find myself feeling all that much when they showed him walking up to the arena and, he comes out in the Bucks uniform. None of that stuff really hit me in any way. I was just like, meh. But I enjoyed the tribute video. I enjoyed the intro, the standing ovations. I like and appreciate that. I've been in that building, I don't know how many times. I took a tour in that building when it got built because before the Blazers played in it, they had tours. You could go see, hey, check out the Rose Garden.
Oh, like back in 94, 95?
Yeah, and I had a buddy of mine, his dad helped build that.
Oh, that's cool.
The arena. And so we did a tour, and from that point until now, I don't know how many times I've been in the Rose Garden. Still to this day, the most special moment ever for me in that building was watching him wave goodbye to Oklahoma City. I was covering the game. I was at it. I was behind the hoop that he shot at. I was sitting in section 207, and I was sitting next to Joe Fisher. And me and him were there for the fan, and I've never heard it louder. I've never seen and I didn't see some of the Royce stuff. I was in college, but I was watching in Corvallis. But being in a building wise, that's the biggest moment I've ever seen inside that building in my life. So certainly there's a tie there with what he means and what he meant, and him not talking to the general manager of the Trailblazers post the trades, not shocking to me. I'll say this with a little confidence. I know Joe a little. Super nice guy. And if there's anything we've learned along the way he's been building the team or gutting it and then building it, he does care about how Portland and the franchise are perceived by other players. And so I don't think there's really any bad blood there. I just think it's Dame and the general manager of a different team. Why would they really talk during the year? That doesn't seem like something that happens a whole lot. So, I didn't take that as some grandiose, if this guy's still here, I'm going to hate you. But
it was the way that he answered the question with such, it was like a one word, like, no.
Well, I did, but it's direct. It's honest.
But
it got ugly at the end, right? It got a little contentious. His agent, hey, only one team. And if you're Joe, Joe misled us a little bit. I think that's okay to say out loud. But if you're Joe and you want to trade, you don't want to trade, but you got to trade this guy, and you're in the midst of getting everything together to do it, knowing you're going to send him to a good spot, probably Miami, but his agent doesn't shut up. What do you do there? He tried to out-leverage Joe.
I mean, I appreciate you playing the audio yesterday of when Joe Cronin at last year's trade deadline saying, go listen to this or go listen to the podcast. It's awesome. But it was just bringing me back to last year being such a confident Blazers fan. They're going for it all, baby.
Yep.
And then to find out what happened, it's just that alone makes me upset. So I understand why Dame would be upset as well. I wasn't the player that it was done to. So I can't even imagine really, I'd be angry. I can understand his anger, but I can't imagine that true level of anger. And I feel like that came out in that answer. Just that one word, no.
The Vancouver Ford text line's 503-864-6326. You can reach the show there. YouTube comment section's open as well. YouTube.com/1080 The Fan. You can also reach the show on Twitter. Coming up next, Schultze, I thought of you yesterday with a sports topic.
I appreciate you.
You popped into my brain. I'm like, what strip club's he at right now? Because I want to ask him this question.
Hell yeah.